And then, sir, would you state your name and spell your last name, please?
Wayne Boening, Boening.
And Mr. Boening, you're employed at the Westside Chocolate Factory?
That's correct.
How long have you been so employed?
It's over 11 years.
And what are your duties there present?
I'm a production supervisor.
And in the course of your employment, did you have the opportunity to meet someone known to you as Jeffrey Dahmer?
Yes, I did.
Is he present in the courtroom now?
Yes, he is.
You stipulate?
I stipulate, yeah.
Okay. When did you first meet Mr. Dahmer?
I became his supervisor, I believe it was in May of 1986. I had met him before that. I became his supervisor then.
Okay. Do you recall if he was an employee of the Westside Chocolate Company at the time you became a supervisor?
At the time that I became a supervisor?
His supervisor?
Yes, he was.
Okay. And did he have to go through a probationary period?
Yes, he did.
How long does the probationary period last?
Probationary period is 1 year.
Okay. And did you review his performance while he was on probation?
I did not.
Okay. How many folks did you directly supervise when you were supervising Mr. Dahmer in 1986?
In 86, would have been 4 people.
Did you have any major problems with Mr. Dahmer in the early years of his employment with the Westside Chocolate Company?
No, I did not.
What is the title of what job Mr. Dahmer had at the Westside Chocolate Company?
He is a member of a production team involved in making chocolate.
Okay. And specifically, would you describe his job as that of a mixer?
Yes, you could use that.
Okay. And is that pretty much the same position he held up until the time of his termination in July of last year?
Yes.
Yeah. Could you describe what the duties of a mixer are, please?
He'd be responsible for measuring ingredients according to a recipe.
Okay. Would he have to order up raw materials?
Yes, he would.
Okay. And would he have to add the cocoa, the oil, the sugar, the flavorings to all those raw materials to make the basic chocolate?
Yes.
Okay. And would specific ingredients have to be added at certain times relative to other ingredients?
Pretty much so, yes.
Okay. And did Mr. Dahmer perform those sort of activities adequately?
He did a satisfactory job.
How many mixers work at one time, usually?
When we're fully staffed, 3.
Compared with other mixers who worked at the Westside Chocolate Company, how was Mr. Dahmer's performance? How would you rate his performance?
It was satisfactory.
Okay. Did Mr. Dahmer get along with the other employees?
As much as I could see, yes.
Okay. How did he act in relation to you? Did he get along with you?
I had no problems with Jeff.
Was he polite, courteous?
Jeff was always polite and courteous, receptive.
Okay. Did he make sense when he spoke with you?
Yes.
Able to carry on an intelligent conversation?
Yes.
Okay. He had good days and bad days just like everyone else. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Is it fair to say that Mr. Dahmer kept pretty much to himself?
I think it would be fair to say that, yes.
Okay. Did you think that was odd in any way?
No, I wouldn't say so.
Okay.
He was quiet and reserved. He had no problem interacting with others, but just seemed mainly to stay to himself.
I'd like to draw your attention back to about 1988, 1989. Do you recall when Mr. Dahmer was staying at the House of Correction?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Was there any marked change in his work performance at that time?
No, nothing that I noticed.
Okay. Did you have any indication that he was going through some period of great stress in his life or was unable to do his work duties?
No.
In fact, would it be fair to say that Mr. Dahmer volunteered for extra overtime while he was working there, while he was living at the House of Corrections?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Anything strange about that?
No, not really.
Actually, it's kind of nice for an employer when an employee volunteers to do overtime, isn't it?
It makes it much easier than trying to assign it to somebody who may not want it.
Getting down to different behavior on Mr. Dahmer's part. According to company records, at one point, he appears to have poured the wrong oil into a mixing vat, and the planned product had to be changed. Do you recall that incident?
Specifically, no.
Okay. If Mr. Dahmer was written up or reprimanded for that, would that be something completely out of your knowledge? Would that be the sort of thing that you wouldn't be able to believe?
No, that would be something that I would do if an incident of that nature occurred.
Okay, would it be fair to say that that sort of mistake could happen to just about anyone who's a mixer at some time?
Yes.
Okay. Other than his pattern of attendance, are you aware of any other problem that Jeff Dahmer had at work?
Nothing major at all.
Let's talk about Mr. Dahmer's appearance at work. Was he usually well groomed?
Usually, yes.
Okay. Come to work clean?
Yes, as
haircut?
I could see, yes.
Okay. Was there any indication that Mr. Dahmer was racist while you were working with him?
No indication to me, no.
How many years did you work with Mr. Dahmer as his foreman or supervisor?
It was over 5 years.
Okay. During that time, would it be fair to say that you had the opportunity to observe Mr. Dahmer closely?
I would say so.
Okay. During that time, did you ever believe that Mr. Dahmer was hearing voices?
No.
Having hallucinations?
No.
Was he able to carry on intelligent conversations?
Yes.
Did he ever respond to your questions in an incoherent manner?
No.
Was he ever what appeared to you to be irrational?
No.
Did he ever do anything that you thought was just strange or bizarre?
No.
Do you recall any inappropriate behavior on Mr. Dahmer's part?
No.
Just adding up the dates from 1986 to July of 91, you worked with him a little over 5 years, right?
Yes.
And those are 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year pretty much, right?
Yes.
Considering that whole 5-year period, can you describe what impression was made on your mind by the conduct, actions, manner, expressions, and conversations which you observed in Mr. Dahmer?
I thought nothing unusual at all. He, as I said before, he was a satisfactory employee. Pretty much did his job and kept to himself.
Seemed like a fairly nice guy.
Yes.
No further questions.
Cross-examine.
Mr. Boening, you've indicated that there was a period of time that Mr. Dahmer volunteered for overtime work, correct?
Yes.
And you knew at the time that he was spending time at the House of Correction, correct?
I was aware of that, yes.
And would you agree then, of course, that you would know that if he volunteered for additional overtime, it was due to the fact that he knew he would be out of jail longer by working longer? Isn't that true?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever socialize with Mr. Dahmer?
Socialize
Outside of work?
outside of work? No.
You never did?
I did give him a ride home once, but as far as socializing, no.
That would be the extent of anything socially that you did with Mr. Dahmer?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Dahmer, as I see is indicated here, has worked at the company from January of '85. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So that was about 7 years before the time that he was actually dismissed. 6.5, 7 years, close to.
Yes.
Okay. And during that time, I think you testified that you had indicated you were a supervisor for 5 of those years?
Yes.
Okay. Now, during the period of time prior to December of 89, would you say as his supervisor that he was in pretty good attendance?
Yes, I think he had run into trouble once before that where he had gotten himself pretty far into our attendance system, but he had pulled out of that.
Okay. I have here some records of disciplinary action sheets. It indicates, you have your signature on here that indicates that on December 1st of 1989, that there was excessive absenteeism and there was a record of written warning for that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And then again, on 4/8 of 91, you have your signature again to a record of disciplinary action, indicating that he was given a verbal warning. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
Okay. Once again, in 5/20 of 91, there was once again your signature to a record of disciplinary action, giving an additional written warning for absenteeism. If I was to tell you this also exists, would you agree with that?
Yes.
And again, in 6 of 91, there was again another, you signed another record of disciplinary action, giving a final warning. That's correct?
That's correct.
So in fact, there was verbal and written warnings given to Mr. Dahmer during this period of time, showing a deterioration in his work, correct?
That's correct.
Excuse me, let me rephrase it. Showing a deterioration in tardiness.
Tardiness and...
Absenteeism, correct?
Yes.
They all indicate here that there was excessive absenteeism.
Yes.
Okay, so it'd be fair to say that from December of 89 through up to the point of time in July when he was eventually discharged, that there was a considerable deterioration in his attendance at work, correct?
Yes, enough to move him along in our attendance system.
Okay. Now you have certain rules at the company that you have to follow relative to attendance, or otherwise you'll be discharged, correct?
That's correct.
And these rules are on what, a point system that you have?
Yes.
And after so many points are accumulated, you're discharged?
Yes, it's progressive.
Okay. Well, then would you agree then that due to this progression of absenteeism in the record of Mr. Dahmer here, that he was fired because he failed to conform his conduct to the requirements and conditions of his employment?
He lost his job for excessive absenteeism.
Because he failed to follow the rules, correct?
I guess you could put it that way.
And he failed even after warning to conform to the rules, correct?
I did speak with him every time that he was given a warning.
And so he didn't conform.
He lost his job for excessive absenteeism.
Okay. You've indicated before that you didn't find that there was anything unusual about the fact that he kept to himself. Would you have considered him a loner?
I guess you could, yes.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity as a supervisor to observe him at lunch breaks or other breaks?
Occasionally.
So do you know what he was like with any of his fellow employees at lunchtime or break time?
The few times that I did observe him at lunch or on a break, I noticed him sitting by himself.
Okay. Did you ever have occasion to believe that he was drinking on the job?
No.
Were you aware at any time that he had a skull kept in his locker?
No.
Would there have been anyone there who would have had access or been able to get access to his locker there?
I believe the company does have keys for all of the lockers.
So so somebody could get in there if necessary.
If there was a reasonable cause, company could open up his locker if there was a great reason to suspect anything
Sure, that's fine.
unusual. Yes.
Was there anything at all that would give you any reason to believe that Mr. Dahmer was an alcoholic from his job performance?
No.
Any time just from speaking with him that you've ever smelled alcohol in his breath?
No.
No further questions.
Redirect, Mr. Romero.
Nothing further to disclose, Your Honor.
You may step down, sir. Thank you. Next witness for the state.
State calls Melvin Heaney.
Please read it. Well, testimony you're about to give in this matter, you the whole group, and I think that's all you got. Thank you. Please be seated, sir. And then would you state your name, spell your last name, please?
Melvin Heaney, Heaney.
And Mr. Heaney, you're employed at the Westside Chocolate Company, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And how are you employed then?
I'm a plant superintendent.
And how long have you been employed by the Westside Chocolate Company?
Approximately 22 years.
And in the course of your duties, do you make hiring and firing decisions?
I aid in those, yes, I do.
Okay. And do you take part in evaluating employees?
Yes, I do.
And in the course of your duties, approximately how many people are you responsible for supervising?
At peak season, probably from 50 to 70 people.
Okay. And when it's not peak season, how many?
It drops down lower to 45, 50.
Okay. And at some point, you came in contact with a person now known to you as Jeffrey Dahmer. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Can you identify him by where he's seated and what he's wearing in the courtroom?
Jeff is sitting right there.
Yes. Just say what he's wearing. Okay.
He's wearing a blue coat, blue blazer.
And when did you come in contact with Mr. Dahmer first?
Approximately January of 1985.
And what were the circumstances of your coming in contact with him?
Jeff was being considered for hiring.
Okay. And had he worked at all at the Westside Chocolate Company before then?
No, he didn't.
Okay. How did he come to become affiliated with the Westside Chocolate Company in January of 1985?
I believe Jeff, to the best of my recollection, worked as a temp for approximately a short period of time.
Okay. After that, was he hired by the company in a regular position?
Yes, he was.
And was he hired because his performance was good?
Yes, it was.
And then was he placed on a probationary period?
Yes.
How long did that last?
That ranges from 3 to 6 months.
Okay. Who reviewed his performance while he was on probation?
We both, his supervisor and myself, did.
Okay. And did you recommend that Jeffrey Dahmer be hired after the term of his probation and get off his probationary period?
Yes, we did.
And why did you do that?
Because Jeff's performance was satisfactory. Did a nice job.
And at some point you recommended that he be advanced to the top of his grade, is that correct?
Right, along with his supervisor.
Okay. During the course of your employment, other than problems about his attendance, did you ever have complaints that Mr. Dahmer performed his job inadequately?
No, I didn't.
Did you ever have complaints that he was not getting along with fellow employees?
Not anything unusual, no.
Okay. Did you ever have complaints that he was not getting along with his supervisors?
No.
During the time that you knew Mr. Dahmer working at, the period of time that you knew that Mr. Dahmer was working at the Westside Chocolate Company then would be January of 85 until July of 91. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And during that time, did you have the opportunity to make observations of Mr. Dahmer's demeanor?
Quite frequently, yes.
Do you recall him ever getting upset at work?
No, not out of the ordinary.
By not out of the ordinary, what sort of thing do you mean?
Well, periodically, people always get upset with their jobs. There's little flare-ups here and there. Something isn't going right. They don't feel well. So nothing uncommon.
What would he do when he got upset?
No, nothing really. Just doggone it. You know,
You ever get in physical fights with anyone?
no.
He did start developing an attendance problem over the period of the past few years. Is that right?
Yes, he did.
And for those infractions, he was disciplined, correct?
According to our policy, yes.
Okay, how did he react to those disciplinary actions?
To the best of my knowledge, Jeff handled them quite adequately. He accepted them. He found no fault with them. He agreed with them and always pledged to do better.
Did you have any sense that he was missing work because he was having mental problems?
No, I did not.
Did you have any sense that he was missing work because he didn't understand what the requirements of his job were?
No, by no way.
Did you have any sense that he was compelled to miss work because of some sort of mental deficiency?
No.
There came a time when Jeffrey Dahmer was actually arrested at the West Side Chocolate Factory. Is that right?
Yes, it was.
What occurred when that happened?
The series of events
Series of events that you knew about.
that I knew about. Well, I was summoned by our security guard one evening. There was two detectives standing down by the door, and they wished to see Jeff Dahmer. I then took them into the back room and proceeded to ask them some questions. So they basically told me that they'd like to have Jeff and they need to take him away. So I called his supervisor. Supervisor brought him down, and he talked with the two detectives, and they cuffed him and took him away.
Can you describe Mr. Dahmer's reaction when he was brought down for the purposes of this arrest?
Oh, I believe he was surprised.
Okay. Did he get angry? Did he strike anyone?
No,
Did he yell or scream?
no,
Did he act in any way inappropriate?
no.
Did you ever discuss this case with Mr. Dahmer?
Jeff came to me after he came back from work and mentioned it to me. He asked me if I would like to know what the reason was that he was apprehended, and I said, it's entirely up to you, Jeff.
And what did he say?
Well, he told me that he had got into a problem, that he had propositioned a young lady that he had thought was of age, and later on he found out it was a minor.
Do you have any further discussion about that?
No.
At some point, Mr. Dahmer was staying at the House of Corrections while he was working at the West Side Chocolate Factory. Is that correct?
Yes, it was.
And do you remember any falling off in his performance at the job while he was staying there?
No, by no means.
Was there any indication that he was suffering from some great stress while he was staying at the House of Corrections?
No.
Did he remain a good employee?
Yes, he did.
During the course of his employment, was Mr. Dahmer what you could describe as a team player?
Yes, I would say so.
Did he work well with other employees?
Yes.
Do you recall anyone being afraid of him?
No, not
Did
that I
anyone-
know of.
Complain that he didn't do his job?
No.
Are you aware if Mr. Dahmer ever threatened anyone while he was on the job?
Not to my knowledge.
Are you aware that he ever attacked anyone at the job in any way?
No.
Would it be fair to say that there are a number of young males under the age of 30 who work at the West Side Chocolate Company?
Yes.
Same shift as Mr. Dahmer?
Yeah.
And could some of those folks be described as attractive? Over the course of the 6.5 years, if you asked your wife, would she say they're attractive young men?
Well, I imagine.
Any complaint that Jeffrey Dahmer drugged any of them?
No, not that I know of.
Any complaint that Mr. Dahmer injured anyone there?
No.
Anyone just sort of disappear and nobody knew where they went?
No.
showing you what's been marked with paper. Can you tell me what that is?
It's a copy of Jeff's attendance.
And it's my understanding the defense is stipulating to admission of that. Okay, you can just set that to the side then. At some point, Mr. Dahmer had some serious attendance problems, correct?
Yes, he did.
And for that reason, he was let go. He was fired, correct?
Excessive absenteeism, yes.
Is there any other reason he was fired?
No.
During the last days of employment of the job, excepting the last day, were there any complaints about his performance and how he worked as a mixer?
Could you restate that, please?
Okay. During his last days on the job, other than his problem with his attendance, were there any other problems noted in his record regarding how Mr. Dahmer performed his duties?
Not his last days, no.
On his last day, you're the one who had to tell Mr. Dahmer he was let go, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
And as a matter of fact, you became aware of the fact that he was drinking on the job, weren't you? Or you believe that?
Not really. He had a little bad breath, but
Okay. When you told him he was fired, how did he react to you?
well, I didn't say he was fired. I suspended him pending further investigation.
Okay, when you suspended him, how did he react?
Rather calmly.
Could you describe what he did?
When I spoke to Jeff, Jeff realized what the situation was, and at that particular time, I told him that I'd have to suspend him pending further investigation, and that he'll have to clean out his locker and leave.
And what did he do?
He cleaned out his locker, he walked down to the door, we shook hands and said goodnight.
Did his reaction seem at all inappropriate to you?
No, there comes times when we suspend people that sometimes the reaction is very calm, sometimes it's very wildish, but Jeff was very calm about it.
And would it be fair to say that Jeff's calm handling of being suspended was the same as the way he had comported himself all through his employment at the West Side Chocolate Company?
Yes, I would say that.
During the course of the 6.5 years that you worked with Jeff Dahmer, did you ever believe he was hearing voices?
No, I didn't.
Did you ever believe he was having hallucinations?
No, I didn't.
Did you ever see him go into a stupor of some sort or another?
No.
Did you ever observe that he had unconnected thoughts?
No, I didn't.
Did he ever respond to your questions in an incoherent manner?
No.
Did he ever respond to your questions in an irrational manner?
No.
Was he able to carry on a regular conversation just like you and I did?
Very much so.
Did you ever think he had any mental problems?
No.
Relying on your 6.5 years of dealing with Mr. Dahmer, what impression was made on your mind by his conduct, actions, manner, expressions, and the conversations which you had with him?
Well, Jeff was very polite, quiet, to himself, did his job.
Any abnormalities?
No, nothing.
No further question.
Cross-examination.
Mr. Heaney indicated that you ultimately hired Mr. Dahmer because his performance was good.
Yes, I did.
Okay, and that his performance was satisfactory, and he did a good job, so you continued to hire him full time. Is that
Yes.
right? Would it be fair to say that through 1990, his attendance at the West Side Chocolate Factory was good?
Yes.
Okay. We've heard testimony here that in 1991, his attendance started to falter, and that was ultimately the reason he was let go. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you explain to us the procedure that you undertake at your company when an employee is in difficulty or has taken too many days of sick time? Can you tell us what procedure is taken, what you talk with him or her about?
What do you mean by excessive sick days?
I'm sorry?
What do you mean by excessive sick days?
Okay, well, first of all, let me back up.
When Mr. Dahmer was missing a lot of work in 1991, what was the reason that he gave to you?
According to his attendance policy and Jeff's remarks, his call-ins, he called in sick, personal. There was no long run on sick days, like 3 or 4 or 5 days. Basically, if you have 3 or 4, well, if you extend it into a week, we usually put people on leaves of absence.
Okay, so when he started to be gone too long, can you explain what type of or let me back up. Did you have any conversations with him about his tardiness?
Not directly with me. His foreman usually would talk to him, and during my rounds, and of course, of the evening, I'd speak with Jeff, and I asked him why he was tardy, or, Jeff, it's getting a little late. I had a doggone alarm clock. So
Okay, did you have any written correspondence with him about his tardiness, or about him not being there when he was supposed to be there?
No, I didn't.
Okay. You had no indication that he was an alcoholic, is that correct?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity to observe him on his job while working at the company?
Oh, quite a bit.
Did you consider him a loner?
In today's day and age, no. Nowadays, a lot of people are to themselves, and you just kind of respect their privacy. So more and more people are quiet. And as long as Jeff was quiet and did his job, I have no problem with that.
Were you aware that he had a skull in his locker while there?
No, I wasn't.
When it was to the point where it appeared that he had been missing too much work, who was the person that spoke with him about the fact that he was in real trouble and he better watch it?
Well, we speak to people on a periodic basis. They are given 3 or 4 chances. They receive a verbal warning, then they receive a written warning, then they receive their final warning, and then ultimately they're let go.
Do you understand that he was aware of the ramifications of missing too much work?
Only too much so, yes.
Have you ever socialized with Mr. Dahmer outside of work?
Outside of work, no, I haven't.
Have you ever been to his apartment at all?
No, I haven't.
So would you agree that Mr. Dahmer was fired because he failed to conform his conduct to the requirements and conditions of the employment agreement between him and your company?
For excessive absenteeism, yes.
No further questions.
No.
Mr. Haynes, you ever think that Jeff Dahmer couldn't help himself when he called in sick for work, that he was under some driving compulsion not to appear?
No, not really.
No further questions.
That it? Okay, sir, you may step down. I can. Been marked, it stays. Has it been marked? Yep, it stays.
State calls Joseph Kareha.
Well, testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help. Please be seated, sir. And then would you state your name, spelling your last name?
Joseph Kareha, Kareha.
And Mr. Kareha, how are you employed?
I am the manager of the Unicorn Bathhouse in Chicago,
And where is that located in Chicago?
3246 North Halsted Street.
And how long have you been employed there?
Almost 6 years.
And in the course of that employment, are you familiar with records and documents used in the ordinary course of business of the Unicorn Bath Club?
Yes.
And are you able to identify documents that are used in the ordinary course of that business?
Yes.
That's just... Judge, I have a number of exhibits and ask that I can stand next to the witness from going through. Tell me what's been marked in State Exhibit number 47. Tell me what that is.
It's a unicorn membership card.
And is that a membership card that your company would give out, sell it to the member there?
Yes.
And who's the appears?
Jeff Dahmer,
And what number appears?
membership number 7799.
And how is that membership number assigned?
I'm sorry.
How is that number assigned? How do you decide who gets what number?
They're just in numerical order, membership given out.
And would it be fair to say that membership number 7799 was assigned to Jeff Dunn?
Yes.
Was it assigned to anybody else?
No.
Showing you what's been marked as state exhibit number 48.
Your Honor, for the purposes of the record, Mr. O'Meara has shown me exhibits 47 through 59, and we'd be perfectly willing to short circuit this by stipulating to the admission of each and every one of those exhibits.
If also for purpose of the record, I think we have to have some identification of what each and every exhibit is. Maybe Mr. O'Meara can just indicate that for the
If he
record.
wants to just indicate what they are, I have no problem with them. I don't know that it's necessary for this witness to be required to go through each of those and identify them. We've seen them, we would be in agreement as to what they, we have no problem with receiving them.
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about getting them into the record. And for that purpose, there has to be some identification. I think that maybe quickly we could go through the identification, and then you could go to the particular exhibits that you need some explanation from the witness. That's what we're talking about, just speeding the process up a little bit.
Can you tell me what number 48 is?
It's a membership application. Jeffrey L. Dahmer,
His address?
2357 South 57th Street, West Allis, Wisconsin.
Did he sign them?
Yes.
And was his application accepted for membership in the Lincoln Bath?
Yes, it was.
Okay, I'm showing you exhibits 49 through 58. You identify what those are.
These are our check-in cards, which show what time a customer had checked into the club and what time they had checked out, and on the specific date.
When a person checks into Unicorn Bath Club, do they have to fill out one of those cards every time?
Yes.
And does that card show what time they checked in?
Yes.
And does it also show what time they checked out?
Yes.
Will it also indicate if they rented a room while they were there?
Yes.
And does the customer have to sign in when he gets there and sign out when he leaves?
Yes.
I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 59. Can you identify what that is?
It's an itemized list of the check-in times of member 7799 Jeffrey Dahmer.
And would that document have been generated by Unicorn Bath Club?
Yes.
And how many days does State's Exhibit number 59 indicate that Mr. Dahmer was there?
It shows 10 visits in a one-year period.
Okay. And would those dates correspond with State's Exhibit 49 through 58?
Yes.
All right. And what dates were Mr. Dahmer there at the Unicorn Bath Club?
Membership was purchased on March 31st, 1990. His first check-in was on 4/1 of 90. Then again on 4/8/90. Then again on 4/13/90. Then again on 4/21/90. 6/30/90. 9/22/90. Once again on 9/22/90, he had checked out and checked back in. 9/23/90. 2/4/91. And 2/9/91.
And State's Exhibit 59 also indicates the times and the length of times that he was there on each of those dates, correct?
Yes.
During the time that your records indicate that Mr. Dahmer was a member of the Unicorn Bath Club. Did you have any personal contact with him that you can recall?
No, I didn't.
Were you aware of any reports of drugging of other patrons at the Unicorn Bath Club during this time?
No incidents were ever reported to me.
Any dead bodies appear in the Unicorn Bath Club during this time?
No.
Any indication that anyone was striking someone over the head or rendering them unconscious in the Unicorn Bath Club during this time?
No.
No further questions.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Kareha, is that how you say your name?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Kareha, you're the manager of the Unicorn Bath Club.
Right.
How long have you been the manager?
I've been the manager since October of 91. Previous to that, I was the assistant manager.
Okay. So you were not the manager of this club during any of Mr. Dahmer's visits, is that right?
No. No.
You were not. Okay. And you're here because you're the manager and the district attorney asked you to produce these records, and you're here to produce the records of your club, right?
Right.
Not because you had any contact with Mr. Dahmer personally.
No.
Okay. Could you tell us on March 31st of 1990, when Mr. Dahmer came and filled out an application, and then he apparently returned the following day on the 1st of April, 1990, and he would have to fill out a form, and that form has now been marked, the first one that he filled out on April 1st. What's the exhibit number of that?
49.
Okay, exhibit 49. Would that be the first thing he would have done on April 1st when he arrived at this club?
After purchasing the membership?
Right. Well, he purchased the membership the day before.
Right. Yes, this is the first thing.
He came back on the 1st, and he would have had to fill out that form and sign it, indicating what time he got there.
Right.
Now, are there baths there?
Yes.
And would he get a towel or something?
Yes.
Okay. And he has the option of whether to get a room or not get a room.
Right.
Do you maintain any records of who he might have met there?
No.
So you have no idea on any of those 10 occasions he was there whether he had any interaction with anyone?
No, I don't.
Okay. And you don't know if he left with anyone, do you?
No.
Okay. You don't know what he did while he was there?
No, I don't.
And that would be a matter of some privacy that you would not concern yourself with.
Right.
Fair? Okay. You were asked to bring or to supply these records relative to Mr. Dahmer and his visits at the Bath Club. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Did the district attorney's office or the police department ask you to produce records relative to the visits of any other individual to the Unicorn Bath Club?
No.
During this period of time between the end of March of 1990 and the 9th of February of 91, what was the average number of people that were at that bath club at any given time?
I would say the average number on a daily basis.
Right.
Between 75 and 150 people.
That's all.
Give me step out.
State calls Detective Don Yaki. Thanks, Mr. Chair.